This is Monaco, a billion-watt spectacle of super yachts, champagne toasts, and impossible glamour. It's the postcard come to life. But if you listen closely, past the clinking glasses and the roar of the F1 cars, you might hear a different sound. The quiet sigh of emptiness. The subtle crack in a perfectly curated facade. Because for every glittering smile under the Mediterranean stars, there's a story you're not supposed to hear. For every public celebration, there's a private desperation. This isn't just a story about the most exclusive nightlife on Earth. This is a journey into the shadows it casts. What is the real price of admission to a world where money is no object but happiness? Is just out of reach? Asterisk. You think you know what exclusion feels like? Maybe you've been turned away from a club for wearing the wrong shoes. But in Monaco, the velvet rope isn't just a physical barrier. It's a psychological fortress, and its gates are guarded by more than just a bouncer with a clipboard. The first and most profound layer of Monaco's dark side isn't what happens inside the party eye, it's the soul-crushing process of even getting close. It begins with a simple, devastating truth. Your money, no matter how much you have, is not enough. Not nearly enough, because here, money is merely the entry fee to a much more complex game. It's the price of admission to the stadium, but it doesn't get you a seat, let alone onto the field. The real currency in Monaco is access. And access is a language spoken in whispers, in unspoken codes, in generations-old names. Let's talk about the dress code, for instance. It's not written down anywhere, but everyone who is in knows it. It's not about being formal. It's about a specific, effortless, and exorbitantly expensive casualness. A watch that costs more than a house isn't flaunted. It's glanced at. A handbag that could fund a startup is treated like a simple accessory. For an outsider, trying to dress the part is a minefield. You can buy the expensive shirt, but can you buy the posture of someone who has never once looked at the price tag? They can spot the effort from a mile away. Effort is the ultimate sin. This brings us to the most impenetrable wall of the fortress, the guest list. In most of the world, a guest list is a tool for management. In Monaco, it is a weapon of social stratification. There are public clubs. And then there are the private parties, the ones held on the top floor penthouses of buildings with no public address, or on yachts so large they have their own security detail. Your name doesn't get on that list by buying a ticket. Your name gets on that list because a fixer put it there. This is a shadowy, all-powerful figure, part social secretary, part intelligence agent, part gatekeeper. The fixer doesn't just know who is rich. They know who is suitable. They track family lineages, recent business deals, scandals to be avoided, and social capital. They are the architects of the hierarchy. You might be a self-made billionaire from Silicon Valley, but to a Monaco fixer, you are new, and new is often synonymous with vulgar. You lack the patina of old money. The quiet assurance that comes from centuries of wealth. You can try to hire a fixer yourself, but their loyalty isn't for sale to just anyone. It's leased carefully to those who already belong. So imagine the scene. You've spent a fortune. You're wearing the right clothes. You've arrived in the right car. You've even managed to get the name of a fixer. You approach the door, your heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and dread. The bouncer doesn't look at you with aggression. That would be too human. He looks at you with a blank, impersonal dismissal. He consults his tablet, a digital arbiter of fate. Your name isn't there. Or worse, it is, but he looks you up and down and decides you don't fit the ambiance. The rejection isn't loud. It's a quiet, humiliating whisper. I'm sorry, sir. This is a private event. And in that moment, you understand. The door isn't just closed. It is locked, bolted, and guarded by centuries of tradition and unshakable privilege. This is where the darkness first seeps in. It's the realization that you are fundamentally, irrevocably other. You are on the outside, looking in at a world that has perfected the art of making you feel small. The party is just a few feet away, the laughter and music taunting you, but it might as well be on another planet. This is the first lesson Monaco teaches you, that the most painful exclusions are the ones that are polite, seamless, and absolute. The fortress has repelled another intruder, and its walls stand taller than ever. So let's say you've done the impossible. You've navigated the fixers, passed the judgment at the door, and you're finally in. The air is thick with the scent of expensive perfume and salt from the sea. Champagne flutes are raised, laughter rings out, and it looks like pure, unadulterated bliss. This is the moment you've been working towards, the reward for your wealth and persistence. But what if I told you that this, right here, is the greatest illusion of all? You haven't entered a party. You've stepped onto a stage, and everyone here is performing. The first rule of the performance is the relentless, crushing pressure to spend. This isn't about buying a drink. It's about buying your place at the table, minute by minute, bottle by bottle. In a normal bar, you order a drink. Here, you order a performance. The most common isn't just a bottle of champagne. It's the ritual of ordering it. It's the subtle competition to see who will call for the crystal. The Armand de Brignac, the Dom Perignon P, through not just the brand, but the specific, outrageously priced vintage or edition. When that bottle arrives, it doesn't come quietly. It arrives with a parade of staff, a spotlight of attention, a performance of its own. The ice bucket is placed with ceremony. The label is displayed for all to see. It's a social signal, a flare shot into the night sky announcing, "I am here, and I can afford this." But the moment that bottle is poured, its power vanishes. It's already obsolete. The pressure immediately begins to build for the next one, and the next. You're not drinking for pleasure. You're spending for survival. There is an invisible price tag hanging from the neck of every person in the room, and everyone is secretly reading them, calculating, ranking. This leads to the most pervasive and gnawing fear in this gilded cage, the fear of being the poorest person in the room. Imagine the psychological weight of that. These are individuals who are used to being the wealthiest, most powerful person in any given room back home. But here, they are surrounded by their own kind, only more so. There is always someone with a bigger yacht, a more obscure vintage of wine, a more direct line to a prince. This creates a unique form of anxiety, a paranoia that your carefully constructed image is about to shatter. A hesitation to order the next round is seen as a sign of weakness. A watch that is merely expensive, instead of astronomically rare, becomes a source of shame. Every interaction is laced with a subtle, unspoken interrogation. What do you do? Oh, and really, how much of that did you actually sell? Your net worth isn't a private number. It's your social credit score, and it's being constantly reassessed by everyone around you. The laughter you hear isn't just joy. It's often the sound of nerves, the release of this immense, unending pressure to prove yourself over and over again. And this is the cruelest twist of all, the profound, deafening loneliness that thrives in the very center of the crowd. Look at these faces. The smiles are bright, but the eyes are often vacant, scanning the room over a companion's shoulder. These are not deep, meaningful connections being forged. They are transactional alliances, networks of utility. Conversations are not about dreams or fears or passions. They are about deals, assets, the movements of other billionaires. You are surrounded by people, but you are utterly alone. You cannot be vulnerable. You cannot admit that you're tired, or that you're struggling with the pressure, or that you find the whole spectacle empty. To show vulnerability is to show a crack in your armor, and in a world of sharks, a single drop of blood is a death sentence. So, you play the part. You laugh at the right moments. You drop the right names. You pretend the champagne tastes like anything other than obligation. This is the champagne illusion. It's the realization that the freedom you thought your wealth would buy has instead trapped you in a golden straitjacket. The pursuit of happiness has been replaced by the performance of happiness. The night becomes a blur of forced merriment and strategic networking. A costly charade where the price of admission is not just your money, but your authenticity. You came to Monaco to feel alive, to feel like you've made it. But as the sun begins to rise over the port, painting the superyachts in a soft morning light, you're left with a hollow feeling. The music has faded, the crowd has dispersed, and you are left with the silence, the bill. And the chilling question, if this is the top of the mountain, why does it feel so much like a cliff? We've seen the performance, the pressure, the psychological toll of life in the gilded cage. But now it's time to pull back a much darker curtain. Because this entire glittering ecosystem, this 24/7 carnival of wealth, doesn't run on champagne alone. It runs on a hidden economy of exploitation and crime that operates just inches from the spotlight. In the shadows, everyone pretends not to see. This is the machinery that makes the magic happen. In Monaco, prostitution itself operates in a legal gray zone, but the industry that has grown around it is anything but ambiguous. This isn't about seedy street corners. It's a highly organized digital marketplace of human beings. The women and men who populate these parties are often referred to as models or escorts, but that language sanitizes a brutal reality. They are the ultimate accessories rented for the night to complete a billionaire's image of power and desirability. They are sourced from elite agencies, flown in on private jets from Eastern Europe, South America, or Scandinavia, and presented as part of the evening's entertainment. Their presence is a status symbol, a living, breathing luxury item. But behind the designer dresses and perfect smiles, their lives are tightly controlled. Their passports are often held by handlers, their movements monitored, their lives a cycle of five-star hotels and profound isolation. They are there to provide the illusion of companionship in a world devoid of genuine connection, the human cost of a night where everything and everyone has a price. And to keep this high-stakes party going, you need fuel. A very specific kind of fuel. The drug trade in Monaco is as discreet as it is pervasive. You won't find a dealer on a street corner. You find him through a concierge, a yacht steward, a trusted club promoter. The cocaine is pharmaceutical grade. The MDMA is pure. Everything is presented as a premium product for a premium clientele. It's all part of the performance, the energy to dance until dawn. It's the confidence to close a deal, the chemical escape from the very pressure their lifestyle creates. But this isn't a victimless crime among consenting adults. This discreet trade is a key revenue stream for the very organized crime syndicates that use the Azil principality for their own purposes. The same networks that traffic in drugs are often entangled in human trafficking and money laundering. The money a billionaire casually spends on a gram of cocaine doesn't just disappear. It funds a brutal global criminal ecosystem. And it flows right back into the very foundations of this society, a silent, toxic partnership between the ultra-rich and the ultra-ruthless. But perhaps the most widespread and most accepted form of exploitation is that of the invisible army that keeps Monaco running. We are talking about the waitstaff, the cleaners, the deckhands on the yachts, the security guards, the cooks. These are the real people who make the illusion of effortless luxury possible. And they are almost exclusively not from Monaco. They commute for hours from Italy and France, or they live in cramped shared apartments in the few less glamorous corners of the principality. There lives a world away from the opulence they serve. They work 16-hour days, endure the casual condescension and the towering demands of the elite. They clean up the mess after the party, both literal and metaphorical. They are the ghosts in the machine, paid just enough to keep them coming back, but never enough to truly participate in the world they maintain. They see everything, the infidelities, the drug use, the tantrums, the profound loneliness, and they are paid to be silent, to be invisible. Their exploitation is the quiet, unglamorous bedrock upon which the entire glittering fantasy is built. And this brings us to the ultimate shadow, the quiet presence of organized crime, not as a thuggish outsider, but as a sophisticated, integrated player. Monaco, with its notorious banking secrecy historically and its culture of discretion, has long been a magnet for laundering, not just money, but entire reputations. We are not talking about men in tracksuits. We are talking about men in Brioni suits. They are investors, philanthropists, owners of sleek corporations. They use the casinos and the real estate market to clean vast sums of money. A painting is bought at an auction for an inflated price and then quietly stored. An apartment is sold back and forth between shell companies, each time increasing in value. A business is established as a front for legitimate investment. principality, for all its efforts to clean up its image, still provides the perfect environment for this. A place where the first question is never, "Where did you get it?" but "How much do you have?" This criminal influence is a silent partner in the economy. It inflates real estate prices. It corrupts institutions from the inside. And it means that the billionaire sipping champagne next to you might not just be a ruthless businessman. He might be something far, far darker. The glamour of Monaco, therefore, isn't just a cover for personal emptiness. It's a strategic facade for profound criminality. It is a laundromat for dirty money, disguised as a playground. And everyone, from the waiter serving the drink to the socialite drinking it, is playing a part in the grand, glittering deception. The night in Monaco is long, but the morning is brutally honest. As the sun climbs over the Port Hercules, it illuminates a different principality. The music has stopped, the crowds have vanished, and what remains is the quiet, often painful reality of the morning after. This is when the bill comes due. It's always more than just financial. Let's talk about the most immediate consequence: the financial hangover. Imagine waking up to a credit card statement that could fund a small company's annual budget. A single night, a few bottles of champagne, a private table, services of a fixer can easily spiral into a 6 or even 7-figure sum. For some, this is pocket change. For many others, the so-called lesser millionaires, this is a devastating drain. They are playing a game with chips they cannot afford to lose, and the pressure to keep up doesn't disappear with the sunrise. It compounds. It leads to disastrous business decisions made out of desperation, to liquidating hard-won assets, to a frantic juggling of debts, all to maintain the illusion for one more season, one more party. You see them at the cafes, these men and women, their eyes glued to their phones, not to check the news, but to watch the markets, to move money, their faces etched with a quiet panic that no amount of espresso can wash away. The party's glow has been replaced by the cold, blue light of a banking app. Then there are the scandals. In a world built on discretion, a misstep can be catastrophic. An affair, a drug-fueled incident, a business secret spilled to the wrong person. These are the social landmines that can destroy a reputation decades in the making. But here's the Monaco twist. The scandal itself is often not the problem. The problem is being public about it. The principality is a master of the silent hush. Problems aren't solved. They are contained. A discreet payment is made. A threatening letter from a high-priced lawyer is sent. A story is killed before it can reach the press. The goal is never justice. It's preservation. Preservation of the individual's reputation, and by extension, the pristine image of Monaco itself. So, the perpetrator isn't ostracized. They are quietly managed. The victim is often paid off and silenced. The community closes ranks, and the surface of the water remains perfectly smooth, even as something monstrous is thrashing about in the depths below. This system creates the most tragic figure in this entire drama, the prisoner of the gilded cage. These are the individuals who have crashed and burned, but cannot leave. They are financially ruined, socially hollowed out, but they are trapped by the very lifestyle they can no longer afford. To leave Monaco is to admit defeat. It's to return to London or Moscow or New York as the person who didn't make it, the one who couldn't hack it in the big leagues. The social humiliation is, to them, a fate worse than financial death. So they remain. They sell their larger yacht for a smaller one, then sell that and move into a modest apartment by Monaco's standards, which would be a luxury penthouse anywhere else. They become ghosts at the parties they once dominated, clinging to the frayed edges of their old social circle, relying on the pity or the forgotten favors of their former peers. They are living monuments to the price of failure in a world that only celebrates success. Their entire existence becomes a performance of a life they no longer have, haunting echo of the person they once were. For a fortunate few, there is an escape. It's a quiet, unceremonious departure. No goodbye parties, no announcements. They simply vanish from the circuit. You'll hear whispers that they've bought a ranch in Wyoming or a quiet villa in Portugal, anywhere they can disappear and finally breathe. The ones who get out are the ones who realized, before it was too late. That they were paying with their soul for a seat at a table where no one was truly happy. They traded the glittering cage for genuine freedom, even if it meant admitting the dream was a mirage. But for everyone who escapes, there are a dozen more who stay, chaining themselves to the golden anchor, choosing the beautiful, suffocating prison of Monaco over the terrifying freedom of the outside world. The morning after isn't just a time of day. For many, it's the rest of their life. So what are we really looking at here? Monaco, in the end, is more than just a place. It is a perfect, pressure-forged microcosm. It's a social experiment that takes the global culture of extreme wealth and runs it to its logical and often terrifying conclusion. This tiny principality on the Riviera is a petri dish where we can observe the unvarnished truths about privilege. Not as an abstract concept, but as a lived reality. And the results tell us something profound about the human condition. First, it shatters the central myth of consumer capitalism, that the next purchase, the next luxury, the next rung on the social ladder will finally bring fulfillment. Monaco is the endpoint of that journey. It is a world where every material desire is not just met, but anticipated and exceeded. And yet, what we find at the finish line is not happiness, but a deep, resonant emptiness. The relentless pursuit of more has stripped life of its meaning. Conversations are transactional, relationships are strategic, and life becomes a series of assets to be managed. This reveals a painful truth. When you can have everything you want, you often find you no longer want anything at all. The thrill of acquisition becomes a reddition, a temporary salve for a spiritual void that only grows wider with each new purchase. Furthermore, Monaco holds up a mirror to the global elite, reflecting a psychology of isolation and fear. These are the world's most powerful people, yet they have built for themselves a fortress designed to keep the real world out. They live in a bubble of their own making, sanitized of conflict, of difference, of any reminder of the struggles that define life for the vast majority of humanity. But this self-imposed exile comes at a cost. It breeds a profound paranoia and a distorted sense of reality. It creates a ruling class that is physically and emotionally removed from the societies they so greatly influence, making decisions from within a gilded echo chamber. The otherness they enforce at the velvet rope is the same mentality that allows for vast inequality to persist, a fundamental failure to see others as fully human. Ultimately, the dark side of Monaco's nightlife is not a series of isolated scandals or personal tragedies. It is the symptom of a system that has mistaken wealth for worth, exclusivity for value, and performance for authenticity. It shows us that a life built on a foundation of status and consumption is inherently fragile. It's a house of cards, beautiful from a distance, but collapsing under the slightest pressure. The loneliness, the exploitation, the crime, these are not bugs in the system. They are its features. They are the inevitable byproducts of a world where the ultimate virtue is the display of wealth, and the ultimate sin is being revealed as ordinary. Monaco, in all its glittering, heartbreaking glory, is a cautionary tale. It is the dream of unlimited freedom, curdling silently into the most exquisite and inescapable prison ever built by man. So, the next time you see a photograph of Monaco, the gleaming yachts, the dazzling lights, the seemingly perfect lives, you will now know the truth that lies beneath the surface. You'll see the fortress of exclusion, the crushing pressure of the performance, and the dark, exploitative machinery that makes it all run. It's a world where the music is loudest precisely to drown out the silence of the soul. The echo of that music is a warning that the greatest cages don't have bars. They have velvet ropes and billion-dollar views. The world of the ultra-rich is built on secrets. And we've just pulled back the curtain on one of the most glamorous. But the story doesn't end here. What about the other tax havens, the private islands, the secret societies? The global elite is always on the move, and their next destination holds even more startling truths. If you want to uncover where they're fleeing to next and why, you need to subscribe. Because we're not just watching from the outside, we're going deep inside. The next revelation is just around the corner.